They say hindsight is 2020. So Elena and I have been in the project world for a minute now. We've been in the game for a while and we've learned a lot along the way. But what are the key things that we wish we knew then when we were starting off? And the key things we're going to say to you are things that we'll share, you can learn and make sure that you don't make the same mistakes or pick up those skills quicker so that you can have a smoother either entrance into the career or smoother road climbing higher in your career. So, working in the world of projects, it's such a different and vast world. You will rarely find any projects that are the same. What are the key things that we've learned? Shall I go first, Alina?
Yeah, you go first.
So I would say it's one of the key things for me was about understanding the expectations. As I just said, there are so many different types of projects. There are differences in how companies and organizations determine what a project manager is. So when you get in there, make sure you understand what the expectations are for you. What are they calling a project manager in where you are?
Yeah.
And what are the expectations they have for your performance? I mean, did you ever get that, Alina, from one role to another, that it was slightly different? What was the expectation?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it very much depended on the maturity of the organisation and their PMO setup as to
Yeah.
how formal or informal a project manager I was, and also with regards to the processes and techniques and templates that they may use or may not have in place. And that would basically define what type of project manager I was and what I was meant to do and how I was meant to do it. So yeah, project management varies in definition from organisation to organisation, and I think sector to sector as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
definitely sector to sector, definitely. And this is why sometimes it can be confusing when you're coming into project management because what this sector calls a project manager is what the other sector calls a delivery manager, is what the other sector calls a scrum master or an agile project manager. So it can be confusing. But this is one of the things that we can help you with, differentiating what the different roles are and where you would be best suited with your skill set and the things that you actually enjoy. Now, another thing I wish I knew back in the day was about accountability. Now, if you understand a RACI matrix, you would know that as a project manager, you should be responsible for the delivery of the project and your project sponsor should be accountable. However, when the bleep hits the fan, it all comes down to you, doesn't it, Alina? It all comes down to the PM. So, although technically you're not accountable for it, but really you are. What would you
yeah,
say?
I completely agree with that. I mean, yes, there is I guess a point at a high level where if everything really does explode, you know, your sponsor is going to maybe get a kick in the shin, but they're going to be looking at you to say, well, what went wrong, how it went wrong. Although they are accountable, the responsibility thing is a really, really not heavy burden, but something that you need to recognise. It's you are responsible for the successful outcome of your project or program. It is all down to you and what you do and how you do it, and how you react to certain external forces as well.
Oh, definitely how you react. So, be ready, be ready. What about you, Alina?
I think for me, I wish I sort of understood around sort of defining the success criteria for the project or program and what evidence would be needed in order to say that this is a successful project or program. So looking back at, you know, some sort of government funded projects, they were very definite about the types of outputs or outcomes you needed to have recorded. But I think in terms of more, I guess, general organizational type projects and programs, is still making sure that everybody knows what the end goal is. What does it look like when to say that that project or program has been delivered successfully, and what is it that they're looking for as evidence that it's been delivered successfully? Is it benefits realization? If so, you need to have an idea of what those benefits are at the beginning to make sure that you can deliver them at the end. Is it some form of case study evaluation they want to have done at the end to prove that, you know, outcomes and outputs have been delivered? It's important to know what your endpoint looks like in order to put in place the plans to have it delivered effectively. What about yourself, Anna? Do you have any experience with regards to success criterion?
No, lots. That is a really good one, because sometimes you could make the mistake that you haven't had the success properly defined within your project board, and you have people on your project board who have different ideas of what success is and how that will be evidenced. So that is a very, very important thing, to have the definition of done or success criteria properly defined, shared and agreed, to avoid you doing all this hard work and you get to the end of it and it's like, that's not it.
Yeah,
Definitely. Another thing that I wish I understood properly before I started, because it would have helped certain conversations that I was having with people, was around people management. You hear the term matrix management. So sometimes in the projects, sometimes, a lot of the times, isn't it, Alina, you
yeah,
don't actually have direct line management of a lot of the people who are working on the project and who are pivotal to the success of the project. So you need them to do things, and you don't have line management responsibility of them. And if you unfortunately have someone who's not performing to the level that they should be, it's a different relationship about how you then go about getting them to do what is needed. You know, it's not the line manager direct report relationship, but you definitely need to do stuff to get them to do what is required, or the project is at risk. So understanding that was very important for me in the early stages, you know, when it would be like, those people were like, you're not the boss of me type thing.
I guess for me, another thing I wish I knew before was about communication style and having the most appropriate communication style for my stakeholders. So, you know, actually taking on board that they are more visual or aesthetic or whatever their preference is, so that I'm not producing, you know, maybe PowerPoint presentations for someone who would actually prefer all of their information in Excel and wants to be talked through the detail of it, because it just leads for unhappy stakeholders, and you don't necessarily understand why they're unhappy and why they're not getting what it is that you're doing in the project or program. It's important that you communicate the information to them in the correct way prior to meetings and boards. I think for me, if I'd learned that earlier, like I say, there probably would have been a lot less upset and frustration from both sides of the fence.
Yeah, that's so important, isn't it? The fact that you need to put aside your communication style and your communication preference and think about the people that your audience, the people that you're talking to make sure that you communicate in the right way so that you can have them on side, really.
Yeah.
So you can be successful. That was a key learning for me, you know, like, oh, but I've given you all this stuff, but not in a way that the person can consume it, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Really, really important. And I guess lastly for me, in fact, not lastly, I actually have another one, but it was very important to have a mentor, because I remember in my first role doing project management, having someone there who could guide me and show me, I guess, what the expectations were, and all the nuances and the things that weren't sort of physically being said. Having someone to steer me in the right direction was important, and I was very fortunate to have a consultant. In fact, it was two consultants who were married, who were very willing to step into that role. And although it wasn't an official role, I learned a lot from them, and they guided me through my mistakes and different ways to do things. And I think it's important, especially when you're starting off and you don't know everything, or you maybe think you know everything. What's it? Is it unconsciousness, incompetence, that sort of
Yeah,
phase?
yeah.
That you've got someone there to steer you and to help you.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, it's great for people to join us inside the collective, the community that we've created for Black people in projects, whether you're a project manager, program, BA, tester. You can come in and find like-minded people, and you'll be able to find someone who can act as a mentor for you, or you can take part in one of our group coaching sessions to get that support so that you can get further quicker, really, and find out all those gotchas quicker, right?
Indeed. It's really important to have someone there who can, get you from A to B just a bit quicker, because they've got that past experience and past knowledge. Very important to have a mentor. Yeah.
So scan the QR code if you'd like to join the waiting list for the collective, or click on the link in the description. Now, Elena, you said you had another one.
I did have a final one, and I don't know if this was me maybe showing my immaturity, but also the maturity of the organisation. The other one's about the value of things. So when I was doing my budgeting, I didn't necessarily understand how much resources and external resources and services costed, and we didn't have a rate card. So I remember doing sort of my first project budget and getting it so wrong, because I thought £1,000 was a lot of money to spend, for example, and £1,000 hardly didn't buy you anything back then, definitely doesn't buy you anything now in terms of resources or equipment or anything else that you might need. But I hadn't had that prior knowledge and experience of having to purchase anything before. So again, I think that's probably where mentorship can come in, and also just to have that wider experience of the environment and how to cope with things that you don't know.
Yeah, that's a really important one. And I think I just want to generally say everything around people, because especially if you're thinking about project manager as the thing that you want to do within the project world, you might think it's all about tasks and about being organized. But the biggest part about being a really successful project manager is understanding people and being ready to lead them as opposed to manage them. I can't stress that enough, how much you are probably underestimating the impact of people on what you're doing. So if you are someone who struggles with understanding when to manage and when to lead, that's something that we can help you with. It's a skill like any other skill. So it shouldn't deter you from coming into projects, but it's something that you can come and learn how to be better at leadership, how to be better at communication. And all those are all the kinds of things that we can help you to develop. So are you already in the project world? Are you thinking about it? If you're already in the project world, drop a comment about what you found was a gotcha when you started. If you're thinking about coming into the project world, let us know what kind of things are concerning you that you're thinking about. Let us know what they are, and we'll see how we can help. Click on the link in the description box to book onto a free discovery call with us, or remember, you can join the waitlist for the collective, and let's all work together to grow this community and get as far as we want to go in our careers. Until next time.